Good evening and welcome. I call to order this August 15th, 2022 meeting of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees. The time is 6 p.m. Madam Secretary, would you please take roll?
Yes, ma'am. Becky Luna Chavez?
Here.
Mr. Overfeld?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Galindo?
Present.
Ms. Haynes?
Here.
And myself. Madam, we have a quorum.
We are a certified quorum. Thank you. Let the record show we have a quorum. The meeting was duly called, and notice of this meeting was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. We will now have opening ceremonies. We will have a short moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's next here? We're talking, okay, opening ceremonies. 2A, Fine Arts Performance by Manuel Luvano. Excellent. You make me feel like dancing now. In the rain. Excellent. And we got next is recognitions. We have recognitions? No? Citizens to be heard? Nope. Moving on. And now we have reports. Del Rio Cares presentation. Alda Zuniga.
Good evening, Ms. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. I am Alda Zuniga, and I'm the coordinator for the Dario Cares program for our school district. And I am grateful for the opportunity to give you an overview of the Dario Cares program for the 2022-2023 school year. So first, what is Dario Cares? Well, Dario Cares was a district program created specifically to increase school safety. And since our school's district strategic planning committee identified social emotional support as a priority, we are committed to implementing Dario Cares consistently at every campus. So as we researched how we could improve school safety, everything showed that it all pointed back to the climate and culture that you create. And what elements they had in common was the C, there's caring individuals, and connections. People felt connected to their place, whether of education, whether it be their classroom, their school, even their department. A, awareness of others. They're aware of the needs of others. R, they recognize and report. E, they engage everyone. They notice when somebody's left out, and they find ways to include them. S, support. We provide support. We see somebody struggling, we find a way to support them, whether it be a student, a staff member, a parent. So this past year, we had participation from the different campuses. And so we included a few pictures so you could get a visual of how they promoted positive messages on their marquees, on the bulletin boards, on their doors. They wrote thank you letters. They participated in donation drives. And then they recognized students and staff that were demonstrating these positive character traits that we all need to have. And many of our community businesses and organizations also got involved. So it was nice to see, beginning in September of last year, started off with the positive messages on the marquees, and then some went as far as buying shirts for their organizations and wearing it on specific days. They also got involved with the donation drives, and even some selected employees that were demonstrating the positive character traits. Now, this is powerful because how many times do students think what they're learning in the classroom is just until they take the test, or just for that period of time? And I think if students can see that even the adults in our community, whether it be at the different places of work, whether it be, the grocery store, the movies, anywhere that they go, we are all committed to demonstrating these positive character traits for our students, because we lead by example. So, why is Dario Cares important? Well, many reasons. One of the reasons is the TEA did mandate that all public schools offer instruction to all students from kinder to 12th grade about positive character traits. And there are many, there's around 30. Focusing on these skills serves as a protective factor. Research shows that if we build these skills in our students that care about themselves and care about others are less likely to hurt themselves or hurt others. These same skills are the skills that are going to help them maximize their potential. So a significant component this school year falls on the weekly discussions. We're asking all our teachers to hold weekly discussions with their students We collaborated with the counselors to provide a Google Slides presentation for each of the topics to facilitate these discussions. And so, for example, this second week of school in the elementary grades, they'll be talking about friendship and kind words. In secondary, they'll be talking about having a positive attitude and keeping our schools safe. We've added additional safety content throughout the school year, and the theme that we're trying to follow is if you see something, say something. And so this summer, our social emotional support committee came up with a catchy flyer with a little QR code that connects directly to our anonymous reporting link for the district. And so we expect to see these posters all over our campuses to make our students and staff and parents aware that they can report something. We included a picture of where the anonymous link is on our district website. And it's there for any student, staff member, parent, community member, anybody that sees something of concern, but they'd prefer to report it anonymously. It's available in Spanish too. We're also providing a monthly social emotional topic for parents for the entire school year. We're going to utilize the knowledge and experience of our counselors, and they'll be presenting by grade bands. We'll have a presentation for pre-K through 5th grade, 6th through 8th grade, and 8th through 12th grade. We'll have one counselor in person and one counselor via Zoom, and they're going to work collaboratively with their parental liaison, and we'll record the lessons. That way we can have them as a resource for our parents, and they'll be available on the parent portal. So we've highlighted which words we'll use each month. We did this just to narrow the focus because we know if we try to work on all 30 words in August, it can be overwhelming for everybody involved. However, they sort of stack. I don't want people to think that, okay, we're going to be kind in August and forget about that in September. So we're focusing on kindness this first month. Very easy word to promote, to practice, to explain to the youngest of children to our oldest of children. And then we'll throw in loyalty, followed by empathy. And these days that we designate as Darrow Cares Days, it's just a day of reflection for us to look back at our organization, at our campus, at our classroom. Did we celebrate and recognize our students and staff that are demonstrating these positive character traits? And so definitely the community is invited to have their activities any day of the month. It does not have to be that specific day. It's just that day is a day to ask yourself, did we do something and did we promote it so that our students can see it? Because at the end of the day, we want our students to see that these character traits are going to help them be successful after they leave school. So as you can see, we're ready to promote these positive character traits for everyone. Thank you for all that you do and will continue to do to serve our school community. And are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Zuniga. I've heard great things about your program from staff, parents, and students as well. Thank you so much for your efforts and for your dedication. Anybody else have any comments? Any comments from anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Item B, recognition.
Item B, recognition of Sol Ross, Grow Your Own, Principal Cohort 1.
Good evening,
Thank you,
Mrs.
Ms.
Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Tonight, we have the great privilege to have with us Dr. Miriam Gies Muniz and Dr. Jennifer Hahn from Sol Ross State University. if you could please walk to the stage, and so we can take a picture at the end of the presentation. Sal Ross State University and San Felipe Del Rio CISD have worked together in a shared agreement to establish a leadership program. The leadership program provides strong principal candidates with an effective principal preparation program. The program focuses on best practices in campus leadership, including a concentrated focus on instructional leadership, and offer candidates with an authentic campus-based leadership experience during the residency year. Tonight, we're proud to introduce our first cohort. With us tonight, we have Alma Cavazos. We also have Mr. Jesse Davila. Dolimer Gonzalez. And Osen de Leon. So if you could step right here in front where the logo is, and they're going to take a picture.
Dr. Keys, will you be at the other end? Each one of you flank them. That way they stand straight, leaning forward.
Thank you. And now if you want to, thank you. Congratulations.
I want to shake your hand.
Start at that end. Start at that end. We got an order here, man.
Congratulations again. You got it.
Pleasure meeting you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right. Excellent. Our next report is from, yay. Sorry. 8C, Facilities and Construction Update. Mr. Carrera.
Good evening, Board Vice President Ms. Gonzalez, Dr. Reels, and members of the board. Having a project update for you for the following for Del Rio Freshman Campus, Life Skills renovation, Ceniza Hills Elementary, Buena Vista parking lot, roofing contract, and Del Rio High School. Del Rio Freshman Life Skills renovation, the interior doors installed, cabinets have been installed, painting and flooring has been completed, and lighting has been installed. With the Ceniza Hills Elementary campus, we have the installing of the steel piping for fire suppression, electrical infrastructure consisting of electrical boxes and conduit. Go to that. And then interior framing is about 95% complete, metal decking complete, and then that water that you see there is due to the sheeting hasn't been installed in the high ceilings like the library and gym and the cafeteria. The Buena Vista parking lot on the Echo Valley is what we lack. And so we still need to apply flex base in the curb and gutter and pavement. And we also going to install or have landscaping installed there in front of the building, and also a xeriscape in the other side of the parking lot. The non-TPO roofing project, what we have there is we're going to have a change order later in the meeting today, in the board meeting. And what that'll be consist of will be the San Felipe Memorial Middle School and this SPC, what our plans are to get those completed. And then the turf replacement is complete. Then the scoreboard replacement, pending work is the sponsor plates still need to be added. Then the catwalk, the electrical, and then the training for the scoreboard. We do expect this to be substantially completed by the end of this month. Any questions?
No comments, no questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay, I have a work order. I told the board that we'd have that. We didn't have it this summer, so I'm just go with the work order systems for the maintenance, technology, and transportation. So the maintenance department, this is a new form that we use, we're using a new software now. So our work orders are ranked from 0 to 15, from 16 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, and 90 plus. And so, as you can see, the ones that are submitted for maintenance for 0 to 15 was 552. Open are 0, closed are 552 for 100%. For the 60 to 30 days, there's 231. Open was 161, closed were 60 for 30.3%. And 31 to 60, we had 84. 55 were open, 29 were closed for a percentage of 34.5. 61 to 90, we had 119. Open were 108. Only 11 were closed for 9.2%. And then 90, we had 14 that were submitted, and 14 were open, and closed were 0 for 0%. As we move forward through this system and through it used to be called School Due, now it's called Essentials, I think. Right. And so our plan is to have the 31 all the way to the 60 at 100%, and hopefully the 0 to 15 and 16 to 30 and the 90 above 90%. So we move forward, it's the same for technology. For 15, 0 to 15 is 949. Open were 2 still, and closed were 947 for 99.8%. 16 to 30 were 103, 29 were open, or 29 are open, and closed are 74 for 71.8%. The 31 to 60 is 49 submitted, 11 are still open, 38 closed for 77.6% completion rate. And 61 to 90 had 10 submitted, 3 are still open, closed 7 for 70%. The 90 plus days is 2 are submitted, 2 were open, and 0 were closed or still open, so it's a 0%. Transportation, 0 to 15, 117 were submitted, open are 0, closed were 137 for 100%. 16 to 30 were 20 submitted, open were 2, are still open, closed are 18 for 90%. 31 to 60, 16 were submitted, 4 are still open, 12 were closed for 75%. 61 to 90 is 4 submitted. There's still 3 open, 1 completed for 25%. And then 90 plus is 4 were submitted. 4 are still open for 0%. Any questions?
Any comments, questions? We're all clear. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carrero.
Thank you.
We've got 8D now. 2021-2022 Accountability Rating and Distinction Designations. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, Mrs. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. On Friday, TA did release the ratings to the districts, and today the ratings did go public, so we do have a presentation for you tonight on the district ratings. I will go over the individual reports per campus, and then we'll go over the district report and any distinctions. Before we start, just a quick reminder. The state actually monitors and rates 3 different domains. So we have domain 1, which is student achievement. How many students took the test, how many students passed the test. That's domain 1. Domain 2 has 2 different categories. Domain 2 is either going to rate you on academic growth. How did the child do from one year to the next? Did he grow sufficiently? And then relative performance, which is how are we compared to other districts? How did we perform to districts that are relatively like ours? 70% of the rating comes from either domain 1 or domain 2. You use the better of domain 2 from the 2, then you compare it to domain 1, and the better of those 2 is what we use for 70% of the rating. Domain 3 is closing the gap, and that's worth 30% of the rating. We'll start off first with Buena Vista Elementary. You'll see here the 3 domains that I was referring to. You have the student achievement, you have the student progress, the school progress, and closing the gap. So Buena Vista came out with an overall rating of a B. I believe that's an 88. In student achievement, they had a 76, which is the STAR performance. That's the percentage of students who passed the STAR. In school progress, they had a 92 for academic growth and a 74 for relative performance when they compare us to other schools like Buena Vista. And in closing the gap, they did have an 80. So you'll see there that they do have a B rating, and they did earn an A for one of the school progress components. Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary earned a 91 overall rating, which is an A. And student achievement, they did have a 74% of their students passed the STAR. However, in school progress for academic growth, they earned a 93%. 93% of the students showed relevant growth. And then relative performance, they had an 80, and closing the gap, they had an 85. So you will see a highlighted star for the 91. They went from a C to an A, which you'll see in the report a little bit later on. For North Heights Elementary, the overall score was a 77. Their STAR performance was a 62. Their school progress under academic growth was a 79, which was a 5-point increase from last year. Relative performance was a 66, and closing the gap was a 58. Overall, they were a C-rated school. Garfield Elementary had an overall rating of an 87. Their STAR performance was a 72. School progress was a 91. Relative performance was an 80. And closing the gap was a 79. A B rating, but you will see an A in one of the domains. Lamar Elementary, also an 87 B rating. They had a 69 in STAR performance. Under school progress, they had a 92 for academic growth, a 75 for relative performance, and closing the gap was a 75. Again, a B rating, and they did have an A in academic growth. We have Ruben Chavita Elementary, an 87, a B rating. STAR performance was a 67. School progress, academic growth was a 92. Relative performance was a 73, and closing the gap was a 76. a B rating, and they did have an A 92 in academic growth. Dr. Fermin Calderon had a B rating with an 86. They had a 64 for star performance, a 91 for school progress, a 69 for relative performance, and a 75 for closing the gaps. A B rating with an A in domain 2. And then we have Robert Bobby Barrera Elementary. They had a 91 for an A rating. Star performance was a 91. Academic growth was a 55. Relative performance was a 72. So their school progress was a 72, the better of the two. And closing the gaps is 62. Again, they do have an A rating. We'll move on to middle school. San Felipe Memorial Middle School had an 82 with a B rating. Under star performance, they had 76. School progress, academic growth was an 81. Relative performance was an 83. Closing the gaps was a 78. An 82 B rating. Delro Middle School 7th grade earned a 79. School star performance was a 73. School progress, academic growth was a 79. Relative performance was an 81. They used the 81 for domain 2, which is the better of the two, and closing the gaps was a 74%. Delro Middle School 8th grade had an 89, which equates to a B rating. For star performance, they had a 71. Academic growth was a 92%. Relative performance was a 77. And closing the gaps was an 82. So you will see an 89 B rating, but they did earn an A in academic growth. Now, when we get to Delro High School, there's just one difference. If you notice up at the top, they did earn an 81, which was a B, but their student achievement includes more than just student performance. Their student performance was a 73. Their college, career, and military readiness was a 93, and their graduation rate was a 70. So all three of these are measured into domain 1, unlike elementary and middle school. The school progress, academic growth was an 82, relative performance was an 84, and closing the gaps was an 75, for a final rating of an 81. Next, we have Early College High School. If you notice, Early College High School also gets rated for all the components. They came in at a 97, which is an A rating. Also the highest that Early College has ever come in at. Star performance was a 91. College and career and military readiness was a 99. Graduation rate was a 95. Their academic growth was a 91, and their relative performance was a 94. Closing the gaps was a 100. So if you notice, every single domain, 1, 2, and 3, was rated an A, as well as their final rating. We have Blended Academy. Their overall rating was an 84. Their star performance was a 73. College and career and military readiness was a 90, and graduation rate was an 80, for an overall score of an 81. School progress, they ended with a 59, and closing the gap was a 71. Their final rating was a B, an 84. So we know the importance of comparing where we were pre-COVID to where we are today. So on this chart, you will see the 2019 ratings and scores compared to the 2022. Again, domain 1, domain 2, and domain 3. The first two encompass 70%, and domain 3 encompasses 30%. You'll see here, under Domain 1, you have the 2019 scores in the first column. In the second column, kind of tinted a little bit greenish, you'll see the scores for 2022. Buena Vista Elementary did go down a point. The next one that you see is Dr. Fermin Calderon, and you'll see an NR. The state will not rate anything this year that scored below a 70. So anywhere on the chart that you see an NR, it just equates to not rated. However, I did include their actual score there so that you could have it. You'll see Dr. Lonnie Green improved by 3 points. You'll see Garfield Elementary improved by 3 points. Lamar was not rated. North Heights was not rated. Bobby Barrera stayed the same. Ruben Chavita was not rated. San Felipe Memorial decreased by 1. 7th grade maintained, and 8th grade decreased by 2. Del Rio High School decreased by 1. Early college increased by 3, and blended increased by 11. Again, that's student performance, how many students tested and how many students passed. Domain 2, you have both the academic growth for 2019 and 2020 and the relative performance. You'll see that under academic growth, Buena Vista increased from a 75 to a 92, Fermin Calderon from a 77 to a 91, Dr. Lonnie Green from an 80 to a 93, Garfield Elementary from an 80 to a 91, Lamar Elementary from an 82 to a 92, North Heights from a 75 to a 79, Bobby Barrera was not rated, Ruben Chavita from an 86 to a 92, San Felipe Memorial from a 59 to an 81, Del Rio Middle School from a 74 to a 79 in 7th grade, and from a 74 to a 92 in 8th grade. Del Rio High School from a 78 to an 82. Early college did decrease from a 93 to a 91, still maintaining their A, and blended academy was not rated. The district improved 10 points from an 80 to a 90 from 2019 to today. I know you've heard a lot about learning loss, but you've also heard a lot about what the district has implemented with the planning, the 3 hours planning, the House Bill 45 interventions, the House Bill 3. So a lot of success for the campuses, the principals, assistant principals, and especially the classroom teachers. If you look at relative performance, the indicators are there. We did show growth in several campuses. Dr. Lonnie Green from a 72 to an 80, Garfield from a 75 to an 80, and I know there was one more. Del Rio Middle School from a 79 to an 81 in 7th grade, and early college from a 93 to a 94. The district did drop 1 percentage point from a 91 to a 90. Before I explain the 90s in that category, I'd like to just briefly go over Domain 3. If you notice in Domain 3, again, a lot of increases from a 76 to an 80 for Buena Vista, plus 4. From a 74 to a 75, plus 1 for Fermin Calderon. Lonnie Green went up 10 points from a 76 to an 85. Garfield from a 74 to a 79 with 5 points. Lamar and North Heights did decrease by 2. Bobby Barrera was not rated. Ruben Chavita increased by 1 point. San Felipe Memorial increased by 3. 7th grade increased by 1, and 8th grade increased by 9. Del Rio High School increased by 3. Early college maintained. And blended academy did decrease. However, the district increased by 7 percentage points from a 75 to an 82. The overall, and then the last column with the ratings, I'll also go over. So in 2019 to 2022, Buena Vista went from a 77 to an 88. They went from a C rating to a B across the top. Fermin Calderon from a 76 to an 86, from a C rating to a B. Dr. Lonnie Green from a 79 to a 91, from a C rating to an A. Garfield Elementary from a 78 to an 87, from a C rating to a B. Lamar Elementary increased from an 82 to an 87 and maintained their B rating. North Heights Elementary increased from a 75 to a 77 and maintained their C rating. Robert Barrera maintained from a 91 to a 91 and maintained their A rating. Ruben Chavita increased from an 83 to an 87 and maintained their B rating. San Felipe Memorial from an 83 to an 82 and did maintain their rating. 7th grade Del Middle School from a 77 to a 79, maintained their C rating. And from a 77 to an 89, increased a C rating to a B rating. Del Rio High School from an 83 to an 81, maintained their B rating. Early College High School increased from a 95 to a 97 to maintain their A rating. And Blended Academy did decrease from 100 to an 84. They did drop from an A to a B. The district improved 1 percentage point to maintain our B. Now, something new that I'd like to explain is wherever you see a non-rated entry in any of the domains, that means that if the district, for instance, if you're looking here at academic growth, we equate it to a 90. But because Blended and RBB were not rated because they were lower than a 70, we cannot use the 90. The maximum we can use is an 89. We saw the same in relative performance. We did average out to a 90, which is an A. However, because we had 3 campuses that scored below, right here below a 70, and Blended it would be below a 60, we cannot use the 90. We have to use the 89. So had we used the 90, our district would have gone from an 86 to an 88, but because of the non-ratings, our district did increase from an 86 to an 87. We had to use the 89. Finally, we do want to briefly discuss the distinctions that were received. You'll see here that Buena Vista, Fermin Calderon did not receive any distinction designations. Dr. Lonnie Green had none last year, and this year they did earn comparative academic growth. Garfield did not have any distinctions. Lamar Elementary had distinctions last year, and this year they did earn comparative academic growth. None for North Heights. Bobby Barrera earned the post-secondary readiness last year, and this year they earned a distinction in science. Ruben Chavita did not earn any. San Felipe Memorial earned their math distinction last year and again retained it this year. In 8th grade, they didn't have any distinctions last year, and this year they did earn comparative academic growth. Del Rio High School did not have any distinctions last year, and this year they earned comparative academic growth. And Early College High School earned comparative closing the gap. With 100% closing the gap, they did earn that distinction, and you'll notice they are the one campus that was able to do that. The last screen is just the combination of the previous 2 screens. That is the report for our ratings, our district, how our campuses did, and how the district did. I can answer any questions you might have.
Comments, questions? Mr. Galindo? No? Over here? We're fine, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We are now on item 9, the consent agenda. There are several items here, and one motion will approve all of them. We have minutes from the meetings of July 25th and 30, financial statements, donation, awarding of bids. Are there any item, is there any item needing to be discussed or pulled from this
Madam President,
Dr. Dios?
just a reminder that item F8, we provided an updated memo
Correct.
because of the bids that were changed. So it just changed from what it was posted, but it's good to go.
We all have that. You all have
Yes,
it, right? We all read it. Thank you, sir. Anything else? So we're going to go through donations. Ms. Webb, please.
Yes, ma'am. Monetary donations. The Texas Athletic Productions donated $900 to Del Rio High School's athletics. KWMC radio station donated tablecloths, runners, and backdrops to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary, valued at $200. Border Federal Credit Union donated 5 tumblers to Del Rio High School, valued at $75. And HEB number 088 donated 15 gift cards valued at $150 to Del Rio High School. Those are all the donations for today. Thank you, ma'am.
The big HEB or the little HEB, that's what we call it here. We didn't know it had numbers. Either way, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now I need to get a motion to approve the consent agenda. Mr. Galindo makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Overfelt. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we go to. Now we're on 10A. Administrator Kit. Consideration to approve the first reading of Tasby Policy Update 19. Do I have to read the whole thing, or?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Ms.
Ms.
Hernandez.
Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Tasby Policy Update 19 was presented to the Board Policy Review Committee on August the 10th. As a result of this review, there were 9 local policies that were being recommended for consideration and approval. One of them is being placed on a separate agenda, so a total of 8. In CPC Local, recent updates by the State Library and Archives Commission, TSLAC, to Bulletin B Electronic Records Standards and Procedures prompted recommended revisions to this local policy on records management. New provisions recommended by Senate Bill 9 during their second call session imposes several requirements for instruction on the prevention of child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking, including a board policy on adopting curriculum materials. The EHAA local policy follows the steps required by law, including board adoption of a resolution to convene the School Health Advisory Council, the SHAC, to hold meetings and make recommendations to the board at a public meeting. The recommended language to EHB local policy includes text requiring the district to provide regular training opportunities for teachers of students with dyslexia to meet the TEA policy requirements for ongoing TEA special education, cyclical monitoring reviews. In the EHBAA local policy, the recommended text explains that the district requirement to ensure that a student who is transitioning from early childhood intervention, ECI, has an individualized education program, an IEP, developed and implemented by the child's 3rd birthday. This text is recommended to meet TEA policy requirements for ongoing TEA special education cyclical monitoring reviews. House Bill 1525, remove the statutory requirement for a district to annually certify the Commissioner of Education that the district's gifted and talented program is consistent with the Texas State Plan for the education of gifted and talented students. And so TASB's recommending deletion of text in this particular policy. The revised administrative code rules require a board policy to address the methods by which a student can confirm completion and submission of a financial aid application to meet graduation requirements. The recommended text in EIF local aligns with TEA guidance to address methods for both the free application and federal application which is the FAFSA and the TAFSA. Senate Bill 1267 requires training in trauma-informed care to be provided in accordance with the board's professional development policy. Therefore, a FFBA local includes the added reference to the district's professional development plan. To meet new board policy requirements from Senate Bill 9, Tasby also recommends text at notice to parents, which requires the district upon receipt to report dating violence to immediately notify the parent of a student identified as the alleged victim or perpetrator. And these are recommended policy drafts. The policy drafts are included in your board packet. And this is the first reading. Are there any questions with regard to the policies that are being presented at this time?
Anybody? Nope. Hearing none, we can hear the recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of Tasby Policy Update 119, affecting policy CPC local, office management records, management, EHAA local, basic instructional program, required instruction, EHB local, curriculum design, special programs, EHBAA local, special education, identification, evaluation, and eligibility, EHBB local, special programs, gifted and talented students, EIF local, academic achievement, graduation, FFBA local, crisis intervention, trauma-informed care, and FFH local, student welfare, freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation.
You have heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion to, okay, Ms. Haynes? And motion made by Ms. Haynes, seconded by Ms. Chavez. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now on to 10B. Consideration to approve the first reading and final reading of TASB Policy Update 119. Ms. Hernandez.
Yes, ma'am. Pardon me. Senate Bill 1267 requires that the board to annually review the State Board for Educator Certification, SBEC clearinghouse regarding best practices and industry recommendations for professional development, and adopt a professional development policy based on the training recommendations in the clearinghouse. To meet the policy requirements, the local policy text at DMA local reflects that the board shall annually approve the district's professional development plan, which must be guided by the clearinghouse. And the requirement from Senate Bill 1267 is that we need to adopt it by the end of August. Are there any questions regarding this particular policy?
No comments, no questions. Hearing, we're okay. Recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first and final reading of TASB Policy Update 119, affecting DMA local, professional development, required staff development, as presented.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Webb makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, you're still up? C, consideration to approve an interlocal agreement between the San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Valverde Sheriff's Office with the purpose of hiring licensed Texas peace officers working as deputies with the Sheriff's Office to provide police security services at school campuses within the district as independent contract workers during their off-duty hours. Ms. Hernandez.
Good evening once again, Ms. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The school district has collectively partnered with Valverde County Sheriff's Office for the purpose of providing for the 2022-2023 school year a uniformed deputy for Ruben Chavita, Cardwell, and Buena Vista each day. The district will pay each duty officer assigned to these campuses at a rate of $40 an hour and pay the county a $15,000 yearly administrative fee for each campus.
Questions, concerns? We're doing great, miss. Recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve and authorize the superintendent to sign an interlocal agreement between the San Felipe Del Rio CISD and the Val Verde Sheriff's Office for the purpose of hiring Val Verde Sheriff's Office licensed Texas peace officers working as deputies with the Val Verde Sheriff's Office to provide police security services at school campuses within the district as independent contract workers during their off-duty hours.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion to approve? Ms. Haynes makes the motion. Ms. Chavez seconded. All those in favor?
Madam President, sorry. Can you explain to me the 15,000 administrative thing for each campus?
Yes, sir.
I got a question, Mr. Overfelt.
Sir. Madam President, with the county, we had an agreement where they would administer the campus. So if any officer is not available, they will take care and ensure that somebody's there, as well as do all of the other work. We discussed it in the Finance Committee, and we showed how even at the end of the day, even if we would have had that same agreement also with the city, at the end, we still end up paying less than what we budgeted for. So it's worth the 15,000 with everything else that they would do. Unfortunately, the city wasn't able to do that. However, the city is still providing the off-duty officers for the 5 campuses. We just don't have any guarantee that if in any day they're not able to fill it, that they will. But you know, our chief of police and sergeant will have to come up with a plan should that happen.
So the 4 campuses, right, that were VVSO, we're using them strictly for security, right, and keeping students safe, not traffic control or anything like that?
There's one campus, I believe it was Chavita Elementary. There was a need for traffic control just because of the hill coming over in that situation, but that's just for that part of the day, 7:30 to 8, I believe.
Okay.
Anyone else? We got a motion on the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're down to 11. Consideration to approve disposal of instructional materials that are no longer applicable for district implementations. Superior Text will provide the services free of charge. Ms. Aida Gomez.
Yes, good evening. Mrs. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Our textbook coordinator has informed us that we have 29 pallets of instructional materials that are classified as materials no longer in adoption, old consumable workbooks that no longer meet the district compliance, and sample materials that the district did not adopt. According to TA, the district may dispose of or donate or sell the materials. We come before you tonight to ask that Superior Text be allowed to pick up the shrink-wrapped pallets at no cost to the district. These materials, again, are deemed as no longer applicable. Any questions?
Where do these go, miss? Where do they go? Different places?
Where do they
Where-
go?
Yeah. Once they
I'm
pick 'em
sorry,
up.
ma'am, I'm not sure. I know they pick them up
Once they
and
pick them up,
then free of charge to us.
I know, but we don't know where they go after that, right? Okay. Any other questions, comments? Recommendation, please?
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Superior Text to collect and dispose of the instructional materials that are no longer applicable for district implementation.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion? Your motion to approve. Mr. Galindo makes a motion. And Ms. Webb seconded this. Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. We haven't done this one. Item 12, technology and operations. Okay. Consideration to approve a change order with Advantage USAA Incorporated for a cost not to exceed $42,100. Mr. Garrera.
Good evening, Ms. Gonzalez. Once again, Dr. Rios, members of the school board. As I talked earlier, we're trying to finish up the non-TPO projects here at SPC and San Felipe Memorial Middle School. The contractors had a difficult time trying to find the tile to replace both tiles at both campuses, and so what our plan is to take the tiles here that are still useful and replace them at San Felipe Memorial Middle School, and then replace this roof here with a metal roof here at SPC that resembles the same tile shape. Any questions?
Mr. Overfelt has a question.
I know you said you couldn't, the contractors had trouble finding the clay tiles or for that, and I'm just curious, because I looked it up the last meeting when it was said, and I was looking up Spanish clay tile and stuff like that, and found different examples of it. In fact, there's a house in my neighborhood that the entire roof was completely redone in kind of this style. So is it, they can't find the specific measurement, and we don't want to go to something slightly smaller, or it's prohibitively expensive to go in and do, and by changing the roof, do we violate any Texas historical things by changing the outward appearance of the building, since it does have a marker?
Yes, sir. The actual clay that's there, we can't find those dimensions. So we could replace the entire roofs with different clay, but that would be cost prohibitive.
Okay.
So by just taking the clay roof, the tiles that are here, and using them as spare parts at 7th grade, we'll replace only what's broken. It won't be a full replacement, but it'll replace everything that's broken. And then as far as the Texas Historical Commission, we specifically researched that question, and there would not be a violation.
Okay. And as far as when we go to the metal roof on this one, are we going to try and like color match the tile so it's kind of a brownish, or are we just going a silver? Have we thought?
It's going to be as close to the color that this one has as possible.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So, just to be clear,
Ms. Chavez, please.
yes, just to be clear, they're going to replace the ones that are needed, not the whole thing, and they're gonna match that to look the same. It's not to do, okay. not to do
At
the
San
other.
Felipe, yes, ma'am. At
It'll
San
be,
Felipe.
still be simply,
Yes.
yes,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Anyone else? Recommendation, sir?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the change order with Advantage USA Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $42,100 for the district-wide roof repairs project.
Heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion? Entertain a motion for Mr. Overfelt makes a motion, seconded by Ms. Chavez. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Gonna get some. Are you next too, sir? Oh, you're still online. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I saw Mr. Rios there. Okay, B, consideration to authorize the superintendent, that's where I saw, to negotiate a contract for the purchase of electricity for all of the district's facilities. Mr. Carrera.
Good evening once again, Ms. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, members of the school board. The last time we went out, I'll use the word shopping for electricity, was 2019, And our contract for that electricity is about to expire at the end of this year, December 31st of 2022. So we want the board to give Dr. Rios permission, authorization to sign our next contract. We have a broker that will go out looking for the best pricing. And once we get the pricing, we'd like to lock it in at that time and give Dr. Rios the authorization to move forward with the contract.
Questions, comments? Recommendation, sir?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent to negotiate and sign a contract with approved commercial electricity service provider that offers the best value to the district for the purchase of electricity for all the district's facilities.
Okay, the recommendation, Ms. Webb makes a motion to approve, seconded by Ms. Chavez. All those in favor? Unanimous, motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you, sir. Okay. Now we've got 13A, consideration to approve a resolution designating the individual authorized to calculate the known new revenue tax rate, the voter-approved tax rate, and the other truth and taxation requirements for the district. Ms. Childress.
Good evening, Mrs. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. In accordance with CCG Legal in Section 26.04 of the Texas Property Tax Code, the Board of Trustees must designate the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, and other truth and taxation requirements. Administration is recommending the board approve a resolution designating the district's chief financial officer as the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, and other truth and taxation requirements. And you do have a copy of the resolution on your desk.
Resolution, I recommend. Okay, any comments or questions from anybody? Okay, is that a recommendation?
Ready?
Please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution designating the individual authorized to calculate the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate, and other truth and taxation requirements for the district.
Okay, heard the recommendation? Any motion to accept? Mr. Galindo makes a motion to approve, seconded by Mr. Overfeld. All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you, miss.
Thank you.
Now we go B. Consideration to approve appraisal roll and tax collection certification by tax assessor collector. Ms. Childress.
Good evening once again. The Chief Appraiser, Jackie Casanova, for the Valverde County Appraisal District, submitted the 2022 Certified Appraisal Roll, showing the total appraised, assessed, and taxable values of all property and the total taxable value of new property. Attached is a certification by Elodia Garcia, the Assessor Collector of Taxes for Valverde County, of the anticipated collection rate and the total estimated amount collectible. And you do have a copy of the signed letter from Ms. Garcia that I'm going to go ahead and read. It says, "Dear Mrs. Childress, the following is to certify that I received the 2022 SFDR CISD appraisal roll and estimate of taxable values from the Valverde Appraisal District as follows. Appraised value of $3,909,328,798 minus exemptions, freeze taxable values, and transfer adjustment equals an adjustable taxable value of $2,492,705,121. If calculated at the proposed tax rate, the 2022-23 rates would be as follows. An M&O tax rate of 95.59 cents, an INS tax rate of 17.7146 cents, for a total tax rate of $1.133046. When applying the M&O rate to the taxable value with an anticipated collection rate of 100%, the total M&O tax collection is $845,379. When applying the INS tax rate to the taxable value and an anticipated collection rate of 100%, the total INS tax collection is $4,604,310. And it's signed by Ms. Elodia Garcia.
Okay, we're on B right now, right? Approve the appraisal roll and tax collection certification. That's what we're doing right now, B?
Yes, I'll read that. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the district's anticipated collection rate and the total estimated amount collectible as presented by Elodia Garcia.
Any, I'm confused, were we on B or on C? Because you mentioned Emino and INS. It's still
B.
B, okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Any questions? Oh, actually, you just read the recommendation right now.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll wake up eventually, okay. Motion to accept the,
So moved.
Miss, which one? Ms. Haynes was first. Motion by Ms. Haynes. Ms. Haynes. Ms. Hayes made the motion. Mr. Oldfield seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now we're on C.
Yes, ma'am.
I should have taken some caffeinated instead of decaffeinated coffee, I'm telling you. Okay, C, consideration to adopt the 2022-2023 ordinance setting the Emino tax rate and the INS tax rate. Ms. Childress.
Good evening once again, Ms. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. On June 8th, 2022, and June 9th, 2022, a public notice was published in the 8:30 Times and the Uvalde Leader News to discuss the school district's budget and tax rate. The public hearing was held on June 20th, 2022. Included is Section 26.05 of the Property Tax Code, which provides the steps required for adoption of the tax rate and the statements that must be included in the ordinance to adopt the tax rate. So on your desk, you do have a copy of the updated tax rate of the ordinance, and then as well as the steps and the calculations that were done in order to calculate those tax rates. And I do need Ms. Gonzalez to please read the ordinance because there's a motion within the ordinance that needs to be read aloud.
Where is it? This one here? Is it? He'll find it for me.
There you go. So, Ms. Childers, does she just have to read the part that says "I move," or does she have to read the entire page?
She has to read the entire page.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
Some more coffee.
I took some stuff out for you, so I trimmed it down.
If we were going to finish at 7:30, now we'll finish at 7:45.
So I need the language required, okay. This year's proposed tax rate exceeds the no new revenue tax rate. The vote on the ordinance, resolution, or order setting the tax rate must be a record vote.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No, just the ordinance. Should be behind the memo.
Well, good is shorter, I appreciate it. So I read where it says, on this date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On this date, we, the Board of Trustees of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District, hereby levy or set the tax rate on $100 evaluation for the district for the tax year 2022, 23, and 23 at a total tax rate of 1.133046 to be assessed and collected by the duly specified assessor and collector as follows. 0.955900 for the purpose of maintenance and operation, and 0.177146 for the purpose of payment of principal and interest on debts. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.133046, which is effectively a 26.06% increase in the tax rate. This year's levy to fund maintenance and operations expenditures exceeds last year's maintenance and operation tax levy. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. Such taxes are to be assessed and collected by the tax officials designated by the district.
Thank you. May I read the recommendation?
Okay, please.
Any questions?
I don't think anybody says any question. Please.
I-
Well, Mr. Overfeld has a question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry, I didn't see this big.
10 years into it, and I still don't necessarily understand the tax code. So, effectively 26.06 increase in the tax rate. And then when you go to the last page that has the determination of steps required for the adoption of a tax rate, comparison of total tax rates, 12, you divide line 11 by 9, and that's where we get the 26% increase. And then the bottom tab, raised Emino taxes on $100,000 home. Number 21, percentage increase, decrease, divide line 20 by 18. And then divide by 10 gives us a negative 3.71%. So what's the negative 3.71 under Emino mean?
Okay, so if I may, can I, the 3.7, so that is comparing our last year M&O tax rate, which was the 0.9927. This year, adopted tax rate will be the 0.9559 for M&O. So it's a reduction of 3.71% on the taxable value of $100,000 of a home.
Okay.
Because that tax rate did come down. The M&O tax rate is decreasing compared to last year's.
So what do I tell people who are only going to focus on the line that says it went up 26%?
Okay, so the 26% is actually comparing the no new revenue tax rate. And what they look at for the no new revenue tax rate is they take what our collections were for last year, what our levy was, and based on this year's certified values, if we only wanted to collect the same amount of tax revenue that we did last year, then our tax rate would be the 0.898831. That's listed on line 9. However, we are setting a new tax rate of the $1.13, and we're collecting the revenue based on this year's certified values with the $1.13. So that tax rate went up 26% compared to the tax rate that we could, if we were to use the no new revenue rate and only collect the amount of taxes that we did last year.
Okay,
We're
but what do I
collecting
tell
more
people?
money, at the end of the day, we're
sorry?
collecting more money. Lower tax rate, but we're collecting more money.
It's
Property
just the
value.
legislature
it-
makes us say it that
Yes.
way.
Yes, they
Because
compare
it's
it to the.
confusing as all get out.
Yes.
Because
It
the
is not a
legislature does it on purpose
Right.
to anger people at local government. But in reality, like you said, it was
Lower tax rate,
Yes.
lower tax rate,
more money.
more
More
money.
money, yes. It is not
Okay.
an increase in the tax rate.
Okay. I hope people are watching. But
Well, if I may, I had the same question when it said negative 3680. I was like, wait,
Yes.
so there's an increase. How's that negative 3680 coming into play?
Right,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I have to
okay.
explain it over and over and over to me. Math. Okay, any more questions, any comments? Recommendation, please?
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the 2022-2023 ordinance setting the M&O tax rate and the INS tax rate.
Heard the recommendation? Motion? Anybody? Mr. Galindo makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Overfeld. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for that instruction as well.
All right.
I guess. Okay. Human Resources, Discussion and possible action to approve employee job descriptions and evaluation forms. Ms. Garcia.
Good evening again, Mrs. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, members of the board. For your consideration tonight, we're requesting the approval of this new job description of Student Services Coordinator. This position is to service students at the SGLC Center to resolve, perform personal, emotional, chemical dependency, and social problems that interfere with their adjustment to school and their ability to enjoy the benefits of the educational process. In addition, we also have another job description, which is the Staff Development and Advanced Academic Coordinator. This position is, we're just requesting to change the supervisor to the bilingual ESL director.
Okay. On the Student Services Coordinator, they're going to be housed at SGLC? Is that what they're going to be?
That's the
Okay,
plan,
good.
yes.
Yeah, we need that, because I used to work there, and the counselor that they have, she just had time for paperwork and everything, so this is very much needed. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All righty. Is there a recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the employee job description evaluation forms as discussed.
There's a recommendation. Ms. Chavez makes the motion, seconded by Ms. Haynes. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Now we got B, consideration to approve the updated 2022-2023 district compensation plans. Ms. Garcia.
Yes, ma'am. The only change that we're bringing tonight and asking for your approval is to include the Student Service Coordinator to pay grade 2 in the administrative professional pay plan.
Questions? Questions, answers. Questions, comments? Recommendation, please.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the updated 2022-2023 district compensation plan as presented.
You heard the recommendation. Motion? Anybody? Mr. Galindo makes the motion, seconded by Ms. Webb. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
ma'am. Okay, it's time for closed session. So soon?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we get a prize? Okay, we're in a closed session. We'll talk about pursuant to 551.074 personnel matters and 551.071 consultations with attorney. We're now in closed session at 7:23. 8:49 p.m. We will now reconvene to open session. Let the record show that no action was taken in closed session. We are now on item 17, 18. We're now on 18. Forget about 17. A, consideration to approve the personnel report. Ideji Garcia.
Good evening again, Mrs. Gonzalez, Dr. Rios, members of the board. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resignation vacancies and following new hires. Christine Hassel, special education teacher at North Heights Elementary. Amanda Chandler, music teacher at North Heights Elementary. Angel Martinez Gomez, fifth grade teacher at North Heights Elementary. Gabriela Rodriguez Carrero, third grade teacher at Roberto Bobby Barrera Elementary. Amber Leach, first grade teacher at Buena Vista Elementary. Maria Ortega, math teacher at Del Rio Freshman School. Joanna Zamora, CTE Family and Consumer Science teacher at Del Rio Freshman School. Carlos Bernal, CTE Trades and Industry Education Welding teacher at the CTE Center. And Clarissa Faz, assistant band director for Del Rio High School.
Okay, you heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Chavez makes a motion, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we got B, consideration to approve the submission of TEA applications for certification waivers and approve the recommendation of new personnel hired under waivers. Ms. Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the TEA certification waiver for the following individuals for a total of 3 years. Jessica Magdaleno, math teacher, Del Rio Middle School. Ariel Falcon, ELA teacher, Blended Academy. Lisa Solis, social studies teacher at SGLC.
Recommendation, Mr. Galindo makes a motion to approve, seconded by Ms. Webb. All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. C, consideration to approve the position of registered nurse for Del Rio High School Athletic Department. Ms. Garcia.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Jackie Levery for registered nurse for the Del Rio High School Athletics Department.
Heard the recommendation, motion. Mr. Galindo makes a motion, moves, and Ms. Webb approves it, seconds it. All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Number D, consideration to approve the position of police lieutenant for the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Police Department. Ms. Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mr. Sergio Mendoza as the police lieutenant for Raymond Haynes Administration Complex.
Heard the recommendation, is there a motion to approve? Mr. Galindo makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Overfelt. All those in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody wants to stick around or entertain a motion to approve? You don't want to stay later, Mr. Overfelt? Mr. Overfelt makes a motion to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries. Good night. Thank you.